So this evening I just wanted to kind of give you a little bit of an update on what's going on with the Squirrel Ranch channel. And if this is the first time you've ran across this channel and you're looking for something super exciting, this probably is not going to be a video that's going to do it for you. I'm going to share some stuff here I think is pretty cool. We had just a great Memorial Day weekend on the Kings River with a couple of family, good friends. Actually one family and then a couple our good friends Paul and Karen and at their place. Anyway, I want to share some of that. I meant to do this earlier and didn't get to it. Got sidetracked on some other stuff, but anyway, and then I wanted to give you kind of just a quick update of what's going on. So for those of y'all who've been watching, tuning in, we're up to I think 290 or so subscribers, and although that's really never been the objective, the truth is that's kind of the measurement. I mean, if you're doing a channel and you've only got 3 people watching it and you're posting stuff fairly consistently, then that may tell you there may not be a viewership out there for whatever it is you're doing. Now again, I've got 290. It's not like that's nothing compared to, I mean, there's thousands and thousands of people that have tens of thousands of subscribers, and there's a lot of folks who have millions. So this is nothing. But I'm started out doing this for fun. I'm committed to continue to have fun doing this, and really initially was just wanting to share some of the everyday goings on really out at the cabin. I call it Squirrel Ranch, and then that's kind of expanded a little bit, and I'm showing some stuff other areas. I don't cut a lot of stuff out. I do edit a little bit on some stuff. There's a June bug floating around over here that's getting ready to probably land on me, but anyway. But I keep getting really nice comments, people on a few of the posts, particularly on that old Tahoe. A lot of people passionate about their cars, and it's just really cool to have people comment down there about their old SUV that they've had for X number of years and have X number of miles. Had a couple of people, got one fellow this morning that is approaching, not too far off from 500,000 miles. That's his goal, and I think that's on the original engine. He didn't say that in the comment, but I inferred that from the way he was talking about it, and I think that's probably right. But anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in. A shout out to old Randell, my great friend out there in up there north of Denver, and he's just a great friend. We've been friends since 4th grade, and he just recently found out about Squirrel Ranch, and he's been watching some of the videos. So Randell, appreciate you, my friend. Love you, buddy, and like a brother, you know that. And I get inspired when I know folks are tuning in. They're sitting there in their home and watching this stuff. So anyway, thank you all. And here's Memorial Day weekend 2023 out on the Kings River with our great friends and some of our great friends, and I hope you enjoy it. So Josephus and Spooner and I got out there earlier, and then the gals showed up, and we kind of just got our heads together, and although we didn't have a plan, and we didn't want to have a plan, we just kind of discussed what we're going to do for the next few days. But man, I knew I wanted to get down there on that water, so I kind of snuck away while everybody was getting dinner together, and got down there and caught a few smallies. I think I caught maybe 4 or 5 smallies in there, but man, it was so fun being on that creek bank. It was later in the day than it looks like it is here. This was early evening, but maybe an hour before sundown, but caught a few smallies, some small ones, probably 1/2 to 3/4 pound on an average. But man, I like to play them, let them fight a little bit, and enjoy each fish. You never know, it might be the only fish you catch of the day. But sure had a great day. I did some more fishing, and I'll share some of that maybe on a future post, but did some more fishing the next day, some pond fishing. But you cannot beat being on a creek bank when the sun's going down, just the noises of the evening and that water flowing. Next day we went on a little float trip, the gals and I was kind of appointed a guide, I guess. Actually, they didn't really need a guide, but Madison there, my buddy Madison, she kind of toured me around on the water there. I really didn't have to do much, and it was nice having her along and just enjoying the ride. But water was really low, not as low as it gets, but there was a couple of places. I think Madison and I only had one place I had to get out and push the canoe along a little bit, but gals had a few more spots where they had to kind of push themselves along. But it was a nice float, weather was nice, a little bit cool in the evenings and mornings, which is the way I like it. But man, Didn't do any fishing on that float trip. We just floated. It was a perfect day. There were several other floaters. I was a little bit surprised as low as the water was, but there was a handful of floaters and some campers. There's a pack of guys out there that I think they were going to be out there for 3 or 4 more nights, something like that. They were out of Oklahoma, I believe they said. And but man, now that water's down, we haven't had much rain at all. I need to get back out there and do some wade fishing, which is what I like to do. Just walk up and down that water and look for those little pools that hold a lot of fish. That's a lot of fun. Took a picture of that old tree. I'm pretty sure that up that hole up there at the top, that if you sat there and waited till late in the evening, there'd be a raccoon crawl out of that, at least one. If not, a passel of birds, and who knows what else might be living in that tree. A lot of wildlife, a lot of life, I should say, inside those old dead trees. We had a real good time, Madison. I didn't want her to work herself too hard there, and but I think she had a pretty good time with it. All came down and pulled us out of the water, pulled our kayaks and that one canoe out of the water, and that was nice not to have to carry them up that creek bank. And then several times we just went tooling around the property out there, riding around in the Polaris and just enjoying the mornings and the evenings especially. And along that creek bank there, and sights and sounds. And it's nice to have Madison also just tour me around on that Polaris. She was awful hospitable over the weekend, and I didn't have to do much work at all. That's Paul's big pond, Paul and Karen's big pond out there, and I caught 4 or 5 largemouth out of that pond, and they were not huge, but healthy, real healthy fish. And again, more on that later. But man, when the sun's going down, there's no place I'd really rather be than outside enjoying it, or when the sun's coming up. I like seeing those fish swim away after you had fun catching them and just put them back in there. I like to keep them and eat a few of them as well, but I didn't keep any out there. I'd just put them all back in there. I think I catch one fish here that I show, but nothing real exciting about that, except everything about it. To be honest with you, I mean, that's being around the water, whether it's a pond, farm pond, a small lake, big lake, around the ocean. I'm not as much of an ocean person as I am a pond person. I'd rather be on a pond or a creek bank personally. That's just me. I think there's just a lot more variety, a lot more going on, and certainly a lot more wildlife to see, marine life, I guess you could say. I mean, unless you're under the water, of course, in the ocean, that's a different deal, snorkeling, what have you. I've done some of that, and that's awful fun too. But I like to play those fish and really enjoy them. I don't want to wear them totally out. I want them to still have good life in them so they can swim off safely and get back to whatever they were doing whenever I interrupted their day. But that little fish here was probably a pound, maybe a little less, probably 3/4 of a pound, maybe 14 inches long, roughly 13, 14 inches long. But watch how he scoots out of there when I put him back. Boom, man, he still had good life in him. And the reason I like to play him, and I say play him, just hold my rod up there and just let them fight. You get to enjoy the fish longer. You get to watch it and see how it, what it's doing. And again, you never know. You might be the last fish of the day or the only fish you catch. So a lot of guys I know like to yank them out of the water as fast as they can and throw them back in and get another one out there, and as if they're trying to catch all the fish. And nothing wrong with that at all. I'm not judging that at all. I no doubt have done that sometimes at some points in my life, but now I think I just enjoy the process more than I used to, maybe. These two guys here now, they know how to use that doggone Kamado and green egg. They're pros on it, and I've got one of those darn things, but I'm like, why do I need to fire mine up very often when these guys are so good at it? They're better than I am, And it's kind of like a conversation. If I don't have something to add to it, why? Sometimes I like to just not say anything. Let others do the talking. Let others do the grilling. What a view. You could see those fish jumping down there. And man, I wanted to get back down there that evening, but I didn't want to be a water hog and well, everybody's cooking dinner and I'm off fishing. But you look down there and you can see the fish hitting those top water, hitting on top. Man, I'd like to have been down there with a fly rod right about now. But there's always tomorrow. One thing Paul and Karen are not short on out there is squirrels, whether they're real ones or wooden ones. I've mentioned it before, but a few years ago I think I created a little bit of a fire monster with old Josephus. He hadn't done a lot of campfire work in his life growing up in the city out there in Baltimore, but man, that boy knows how to build some campfires now. That's an original fire right there that he started. He's got him one of those propane starters, and if you're a campfire person, and I've mentioned it before, but you don't have one of those, you need to get one. Cephas found that online, he said, for not much money. I think like 20 bucks or something. I think I paid 50 for mine. That was a sign I left out there for Paul and Karen a couple years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, and it's still there. Well, we had a good time sitting around that fire that night, before and after dinner. Just sitting up there on that bluff above the river, hearing the night sounds and enjoying the warmth of the fire. Again, it got cool in the evening. It was cool in the mornings, which is just perfect, and wasn't super hot during the day. I mean, it was warm, but it wasn't. It was certainly tolerable.
I don't have anything. I'm giving Paul back extra here for his wine. Hey, I don't care. No, that's great. I'm good ready to for him. I knew they were in there, but I missed them the first time. I use marshmallows.
That fire was putting out some heat now. He was throwing it out. Darn airplane flying over there. If it wasn't for that, you could real easily forget you're anywhere near civilization. We're pretty remote out there. It's several miles down a gravel road, and that last 3 or 4 miles is you pretty much need four-wheel drive. You don't have to have four-wheel drive, but you don't want to take your Ferrari if you're driving one out there. We're not, none of us are, but so Spooner and Cephas and I, we decided we wanted to go and try our hand at reducing the armadillo inventory out there, and so we Spooner drove, Cephas took the right side there. I rode shotgun in the back, literally rode shotgun in the back, and we were prepared to do our duty. But unfortunately, well, fortunately or unfortunately, I'd like to think there's no armadillos out there, but we know that's not the case. They're all over the place. They've really moved into this part of the country from south, obviously. And man, they're kind of destructive. They burrow and dig holes on the side of these hills, and just any place they can get a hole in the ground. And great place to break a leg, or at least sprain an ankle, or bullfrog, something I just don't hear enough of anymore. I actually think maybe the bullfrog population is down from years ago. But man, listen to all those frogs. Now, we were spotlighting around. We were not going to shoot any frogs or harvest any frogs, but we were just seeing if we could see some eyes. You can a lot of times see a bullfrog's eyes. They're reflective. I don't think we saw any, as I recall, but hard to beat. If you haven't sat around a pond bank or a lake or a small lake or a creek, whatever, in a while, if you get the opportunity, you ought to give it a shot. It's a lot of fun, man, and it just brings back fond memories of growing up around this kind of stuff. We had a great time. Didn't whack any armadillos, but boy, we just had a really super enjoyable time and created a lot of memories. And that's always fun when you're with good friends and you're outside, and it just, you know, as the narrator in Jeremiah Johnson said, you just can't go no better.